Yeah, now it's KT on the blue side, a chance to shake things up. We'll see what they opt to prioritize. Do they want to secure the Azir first pick? Do they want to ban the Azir? Do they want to look at the center? You know, we know Beryl is definitely a player who will lean on enchanters. That's no surprise to anyone.
Absolutely. I think Beryl's probably happy to play most things as Nasus and Azir, both of them taken away from Faker here. That is going to be their primary focus, is making sure Faker is as uncomfortable as possible in that mid lane. They might even be able to angle towards Faker having to default to a Corki pick or something like that, which he has played a fair bit of this season.
It has been nerfed on this patch a little bit. You know,
yeah.
You toned down the Doran's Blade also hit as well, so definitely potentially aiming towards that now. Rumble's going to get taken away. Vi has been left open. That is definitely a standout that could be prioritized here by KT if they wanted.
I think maybe just first pick center.
That's also very valid. I
really do think... Okay,
this is less valid.
Yeah, I think Renekton first pick really has... it's seen its day.
Actually, you know a pick that's pretty good into Renekton?
Oh, yeah? Is it a Viking?
It's Olaf, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if Zeus plays it.
Well, we'll have to find out. Who got the POG last game? Gumayusi. Oh, I guess the Olaf wasn't very good. So I guess maybe we don't need to worry about that one in the end. What do you think? That might be the way. I don't know whether they're going to be locking it right here, but I think this is exactly what you should be doing. And KT overlooking the center situation, I think, is possibly going to come back and bite them here in game number 2, unless they show us some way of dealing with it. Unless Oner is going to pick something else, he's just going to hover a few things. There's already a jungler locked away.
I will say there is a Vi available for KT in this situation if they want to pair up the Renekton and the Vi and play some more aggressive dive. One of the weaknesses of Senna is that she is still squishy. You can kill her, but if she doesn't die, the value in this fight we just saw is massive.
Renekton Nidalee.
No, I don't rate it. I don't rate it in this situation. Lilia can keep up with the clear speed, your poke is irrelevant into center. They kind of just go in for the Sejuani Renekton again. And I'm going to be honest, out of what KT brought in the last draft, this was the least inspiring components.
Yeah.
Sejuani. Not necessarily in the draft phase, but with how the game played out, they felt kind of non-factors. So,
I don't know whether that was the part that you'd want to run back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they think, you know, we just take Faker off Azir and we're fine, but I don't think Faker's Azir, you know, was a good stable pick for him, but it didn't really offer that much in terms of how the game played out. So, a bit interesting. KT's approach to this one, they have just gone for the same top side as before. Now, T1, a lot of picks that you could prioritize here. The Neela, the Olaf might get banned if they go away here. But they're looking at the Yasuo, and this is technically a flex.
Very cool.
This could be, we've seen T1 play Senna Yasuo bot lane, but also Yasuo into Smolder. We've seen a lot of Yasuo into Corki.
Yep.
The potential to bring something out there. I will say, a Neela ban, you saw Guma do a lot of work with the Neela engages. You don't want to pair that with a Yasuo in this one, so I certainly think that'll be taken away. And perhaps for KT, it's just Neela, Olaf as the bans.
I think you almost have to. And I think if they don't respect it, it's going to be a massive problem, because you talk about the flexibility. We know that Gumayusi already plays this. We've seen it before. Ornn going to be banned for some reason. Not entirely sure why. But Faker won EWC playing Yasuo. So I think that is still something that we can consider in his wheelhouse, as please at least ban the Neela. Or the maybe the Olaf. Maybe the Olaf is
one of them. One of them.
There it is.
The Olaf is gone. Okay. I think particularly with the Renekton Sejuani, you know, it's a good lane into Renekton. We saw Zeus do well in it, but also the Sejuani.
Four-letter O name. Maybe Ornn was a misclick.
Oh, could be it. And obviously, Senna Ornn is a really popular combo with the old Senna, but with the changes to Senna, I really think that, you know, Senna plus tank, like you're not the same carry Senna. It's not as valuable in that situation.
Whoa, that's an Aatrox. That is even more healing.
This was the favorite spring pick for Zeus. He was just consistently picking up this Aatrox in a lot of situations and really getting a ton of value out of it. Not seeing it as much recently. It is more towards the Bruiser Aatrox than the Lethality Aatrox, so more durability in fights. KT just running it back.
I kind of want KT just to play Ziggs.
I really...
Oh, okay. Cool, thanks.
You wish... you wish for it, and they'll just deliver immediately. I will say, I think the MF Seraphine, horrible into the Yasuo. And this is something I've been looking for, by the way, since I saw the Senna changes. Would be something like a Wukong. They're going to go for the Lee Sin instead.
Whoa.
But I think pairing the Senna with Bruisers, really powerful, you know?
Oh, wait. hang on, where are things going? Because I remember when a certain bottom lane played Senna Lee Sin.
I think it's Senna Lee bot.
Sick.
I think it's going to be Senna Lee bot, Lilia jungle, Aatrox top.
I mean, Lilia has to be in the jungle, right? Aatrox probably has to be top lane. This is likely where it's going to be.
What I think. And I think Parent, because the thing is, you're not the same damage center, but if you have a bruiser like Lee who has threat, in those early skirmishes, the healing just means he's so hard to deal with, he's got so much fighting power. And the thing is, Ziggs smolder phenomenal amounts of damage late game. But you're a lot of burst-based sort of poke. You know, Smolder Qs, there's a lot of damage, has to kind of wait for his next cooldown of the ult. The same with Ziggs. You can kind of sustain through that. The wind wall's going to have tons of value. And I feel like we've seen this, you know, back in the days of like Sona Taric. The champions that really synced with those were these bruisers who, you know, you amp them up like the Olaf in the last game, and they become really powerful, really hard to deal with. And that's what T1 is leaning into. They have a triple bruiser composition in this situation. And then they have the Yasuo, who's a fighter, right? You know, Lilia's even an AP bruiser, so just so much dive with the Senna on top, icing on the cake.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy draft, but you can see exactly how it works. A lot of ways to set up the Yasuo as well, which aren't necessarily usual. Let's jump into the Rift for game number 2. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of apprehension, I'm going to say, going into game number 2. Because I think one thing I value the most in a best of 5 is adaptation and forcing your opponent to do something different the next time around. And I think forcing T1 to do something not Senna would have been a really great idea.
Yeah. And, oh no, Def.
Oh dear. Def already going to get queued here by Keria, as Beryl doing his very best to try and keep him safe, and is going to be able to do so. Tornado going to connect, though, and now BDD is coming in. Another Q going to land here from Keria, looking for first blood, and he's going to boop him back, but the flash forward's going to be there. That's going to be first blood, going over to Lee Sin, but Keria might pay for it. Deft is now in an awkward position. He's going to flash. BDD gets a kill, but so does Faker. Pyoshik's going to turn up. One after the other, they head towards the enemy jungle. That flash was sick from Pyoshik, and now Oner might find himself in a rough position, but it's 2-2, guys. Let's back off. Never mind. Gumayusi is now going to find BDD, also face-checking a brush, as BDD is just going to walk it off. He's like, no, we're finished here. And Guma is going to say, no, we're not, as Beryl is back. And he's Hex flashing, and he's going to crash onto Gumayusi, who's now found himself a little bit too far forward. Does get the Piercing Darkness, though, and Oner spinning around a whole bunch, then takes a bunch of damage back. Over to you, Orcs. This is ridiculous.
Just about what I anticipate from a KTT1 series, you know. I think
oh,
really
the nonchalant tone. I love it.
Yeah, you know, how many flashes was that? Oh, yeah, 7 flashes.
Oh, okay. Just 7? Really?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I
guess it's only game 2.
I expected a bit more. Maybe by game 4, they'll bin all the flashes. But, yeah, a little bit hectic, a little bit very chaotic. And Keria and Faker, they committed to that play.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just kind of like Keria knows you can hit the Q, and he wants to prove it, even though it did end up backfiring. In a big way, and if you know if that's not enough action for you, let's have a bit more. Oner invading on a Pyoshik. Perfect could move down and try and protect this, and is looking to do so now. So Oner, you got to make your decision quickly.
Well, his decision does seem to be that he does just want to get out of here. That is, I think, going to be a good one, considering the movements of the Renekton, like you were talking about. We did see just there. As Keria, this is the last time that he played it. I believe it was alongside a Senna that time as well, picking up the victory against the Bros. And but that was a different version of the Bros. That was Delight and Henna down there.
You know what's the funniest thing about this Lee Sin pick? Is I believe this is the first time we're seeing Oner's skin. And it's not even him playing it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Keria's using Oner's skin, the new T1 skin.
Yeah, because he hasn't played it since it was released, right?
Yeah, so...
Wow. That is kind of rude. Hopefully Oner is going to be okay with it. Finally, he's going to flash, so there we get the clean 8, which is great to see. There we go. Only Perfect and Zeus that I think should probably just agree to flash at one another.
Yeah, like when you walk up to each other at the start of an ARAM and everyone just flashes.
Yes. I flash out of base.
Oh, nice. Get that quicker?
Yeah, you really got to make sure you get to that brush.
And bot lane, you know, I guess in part due to the deaths, gone pretty badly. 4KT, pretty big CS advantage for the Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Like a very crazy thing to say.
I could tell that it felt a bit weird for you to say.
As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, what am I...
Is this really?
Yeah, it's just...
yeah.
Did I wake up this morning or am I still dreaming?
Well, you never know. This is the telecom war. It can be all sorts of different options. As Oner is going to spot Beryl, sort of trotting around his jungle. Bowling Ball is going to miss because Beryl decided at that moment that he was going to walk in the other direction.
Wait, they're both trotting around the jungle, so I'm not sure who you were referring to.
I think Oner is prancing.
Oh,
jungle.
Okay. And Beryl is trotting.
Yeah, and Beryl is trotting.
Okay,
if he gets some Swifty boots, then maybe he'll start a brisk canter.
Okay, I'm glad we could distinguish that because I was getting a bit confused.
Nah, that's all right. I'll be here for any of your equestrian needs. As Oner is going to now set up towards this Ziggs, but Faker's in trouble. Great interruption on the crash down, but the Ignite still comes in. BDD chasing him down, flapping over. Another Q would do it, but he doesn't overextend. I think if BDD had taken another step forward, he was just dead.
Yeah, very danger close there. Got to respect the threat of T1 who will move up to cover Faker. And he will survive on that one.
Okay.
Definitely getting a little bit... Well, it's already very spicy, but definitely pushing out. And now it just feels like it's just been a series of invades. We're 5 minutes in. Some games don't get this much action.
No.
And we're 5 minutes in and it's just been non-stop.
Well, this is actually the lowest amount of... actually higher than the lowest amount of kills that we've had in a whole game.
Yeah.
I think the record is 3.
Wow.
As far as least kills. So we're already there. And it's only 5.5 minutes. As Faker is going in with 300 health, and he's just dead. BDD going to be able to grab that kill as Beryl and Pioshik right there ready to challenge.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit more faith in the center than maybe was warranted.
She is pretty powerful.
She does need some items, though, before she's doing the big heals. A bit low on health, that one, when Faker went in. BDD doing pretty good so far with how this game has played out. You know, he got one of those earlier kills, gets that kill as well. Already demonstrated in Game 1 how much carry potential he can have on the Smolder. So definitely a big win from them. We also see Deft back to the Lost Chapter. He was kind of struggling in the early lane, running out of mana quite a bit, but now has that
Is he also going to do the thing that you like doing as well, which is just not building an Archangels ever?
You know, I honestly think of all the games, this could actually be an okay Archangels one.
Oh no!
Heresy, but there's a lot of dive threats. You might appreciate the shield. A lot of games you don't need it. This one maybe I think Zeus would appreciate a shield right now. And that's why Guma's here.
Well, Beryl and Pioshik are also here, mounted and ready to go. Beryl riding his pants, Pioshik riding Bristle.
By the way, I find it so interesting that, like, you know, so many teams will have a preferred person for certain champs and something in the bot lane duos when you have, like, things like Senna where it goes to each. But I find it so cool that, like, Keria plays the Senna game 1 when Guma's on the Neela, and now it's the other way around.
There's a last breath as the wind wall does come down. BDD presses flap though, and he's just going to flap his way out.
Yeah, really hard to pressure. If you don't have immediate follow-up from the Yasuo ult, there's not too much you can do to this Smolder. You can kind of just flap away.
Yeah, does have his Phage there as well, so his health bar is looking all right at this point in time. 2-0-1 after the shenanigans we saw earlier on, as Beryl spotting out the fact that this red buff is going to be taken away, and you can see that Pioshik is immediately going to forsake that and head towards the top side, as it looks like BDD is once again flapping. Just landing whatever Qs he can find, though, and of course, this feels pretty good for the Smolder up into a melee champion. Even though the wind wall can be annoying, I feel like you will be able to get a fair few stacks in this game.
Yep, definitely, and faster stacking, faster spikes. We do now see finally the Renekton Sejuani pairing, looking to punish Zeus.
Oh, there's the flash forward from Perfect! Zeus is going to get tagged, and the Winter's Wrath will be enough! The dive was beautiful there from KT.
Just the immediate flash done. Stacks the passive, gets the damage. Oh, BDD.
Yep, flapping around in circles here is BDD right now, as the Shattering Strike does come in. Faker is going to ignore it, basically. And that is going to be Dragon secured by T1.
Yep, so early Dragon picked up this time by T1. We obviously saw KT with a bit of a monopoly on those, on neutral objectives in general in Game 1. But yeah, we're finally seeing perfect. This Renekton, this early pick Renekton Game 1 really didn't have any impact. But this time around, gets that kill onto Zeus. And I'm hoping we see Perfect kind of run away with this lead.
Yeah, for KT's sake, I think he's going to need to.
This one was a bit of an interesting one.
mean, it was at least it was flash invested, but yeah, not a great look.
Yeah, Zeus trying to hold the wave, and immediately the permafrost stacked up here by Perfect. So well played. And the thing is, Pioshik still had a full health bar and ult to follow up. That didn't kill Zeus. Like, there was no way he was making it out there, so...
Oh, I actually thought that he invested the ult, but it was just a permafrost. It's crazy.
Yep.
There we go. As Beryl now looking for an opportunity, could crash over this wall, and there it is! Crashdown does come on through there as well, as Zeus does get over here. Gumayusi, let's see whether he can keep them alive. 3 versus 2 right now, a lot of things on cooldown here on KT's side, but it is another pick-off for them. As Faker walks behind his wind wall one more time, looking for some more knockups, will be able to stack up that Q. BDD is just sort of sneezing on the minion wave, having a good time. Tornado goes wide, and it looks like this is just kind of business as usual for the Smolder. BDD just waiting for that late game.
And Pioshik already being 3-0 right now has, again, gone for that early lock it, but a lot of power in these early fights. This game's feeling pretty good for KT so far.
Yeah. Looks like, you know, once again, it's you look on the left side of the scoreboard, and it's about a 1,000 gold lead here at 10 minutes. T1, they did have that set up in game number 1, but I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen, as right now, Perfect is going to get shot a bunch of times here by Gumayusi. As the slice does come through, Perfect going to be just fine. Doesn't have teleport. If he wanted to get back towards the top lane, probably just going to wait for that waved conga line through, as 92 to 69 CS here. In the top lane is a pretty nice CS lead for Perfect.
Yeah, and I think a big thing was the power of the Olaf in game 1 was amplified so much by the center. If the Aatrox is behind, you know, yes, you have other options to amplify in this game, but he really benefited from having this winning top laner in that one for the center to sustain up with, and now you don't have that. Perfect moving around. He's so strong in these early grub fights.
Yep, teleport is going to come in here as Perfect getting in. There is the crash down from Beryl. Mega Inferno Bomb right on top of Oner as the grubs are being taken down in the meantime. Keria dashing into the backline. Perfect surviving for so long, but will eventually be taken down, and the damage is kind of missing here from KT, but these health bars going lower when the bouncing bombs do land. Gumayusi taking a lot of damage, but he is going to still get the ult off. The Dawning Shadow layered across. Deft is going to sacrifice himself to get the kill onto the center, but the team fight is won pretty wholeheartedly here by T1.
Such a scrappy fight, but T1, that's where their composition flourishes. KT try and go for the big engage, but we don't see the value coming out, and yet there's the Oner skin being played by Keria. Such a troll move, but we'll see. This initial engage comes on Oner, but the follow-up isn't quite there. Perfect doesn't connect on him to get the stun, and Perfect just gets nuked down. The Renekton gets so little value, and KT have kind of used all of their big tools. In the ensuing fight, there's so many of these bruisers there to chase down KT. Deft and BDD are not online yet. They get this kill on Pioshik, and then Keria, he saved his ult and gets this beautiful kick. Unfortunately, that does mean his lane partner dies, but I think they're still happy with the outcome. There's some great play there from T1. And I think a composition like this can be really hard to pull off. You know, you have so many moving pieces, you have so many different people who could potentially, you know, have to take fights on their own, and like, you know, it's not like a unified front to back. That's really what KT's comp is. T1, you'll have to approach at the same time, maybe have different flank angles. But it's a comp that really suits T1. They kind of do that a lot of the time, even without comps that necessarily are like this. So I think of all the teams in the LCK, they're definitely one of the teams I can see really making this comp work, and they just displayed it in that fight.
Yep, they've done it before as well. I mean, we brought it up. I mean, Keria and Gumayusi have played this lane in the past, and I think we've asked for it quite a few times as well. I remember sitting there and I'm like, oh, this could be another Lee Sin drop, just because last time it looked really good for these two. So it's something that they have practiced, even if it did only recently, only come out like a few years ago. This is something that they've always sort of had in their back pocket, as Oner is going to be starting off this Drake once again. Exactly the same dragons as we had in game 1. Quizzical, you could say. Wow. See whether it's another Hextech Soul. I imagine this one's going to be a Chemtech just to give us some of that balance. But if it's a Chemtech Soul and there's a center on the Rift, do not let that be a thing, as it's going to be an Ocean, and that sounds like it's even worse.
Yeah, I don't think we had enough healing.
Yeah.
You know, needed a bit more. That's really going to make things difficult for the side of KT if T1 get it. I know, obviously, Ocean's not the strongest soul, but as we said, the healing into all these bruises, it's going to be an issue for KT's damage to cut through. The Ocean Soul would just make it almost impossible. I mean, there's a point where healing reduction, it's not enough. You know, it's only 40%. That it's like mandatory, but it's not exactly just going to massively change it if they're just healing absurd amounts. So definitely something they don't want to give over to T1. You do see them leaning towards the Herald now. T1 a bit slower on the maps. This might just be given over to KT.
Yeah, it looks like they are just going to be able to leverage their little bit of tempo that they were able to build up for themselves. Hextech Minefield goes down there from Def just to stop Gumayusi from being able to get in. As the snare is going to land onto Perfect. He could still be a target here. Does hold onto the slice in order to get away from Keria, as there is the Rift Herald picked up by KT. Now they're looking for an escape. Bowling Ball connects. Zeus just going to head towards the mid lane, shove this one out, see whether T1 can catch them on the rotation. Looks like it's just going to be a blue buff steal. And there that goes. Oner going to be able to help pick that one up for the team.
Yep, I like the fact that obviously KT get Herald, T1 really forced them out their own jungle, and at least get the blue buff out of that. Not a worth trade, obviously, but still trying to find something from it. And once again, Faker pushing in the top lane. Well, really the backing of his team. You can see Beryl maybe looking to set up a trap.
Yeah, he's going to turn up.
Blade of the Rune King Yasuo, though, so a bit scary. I remember on this patch, Blade of the Rune King was nerfed for range champions. Well, it lost some attack speed and AD for every champion, but the percentage HP damage was buffed for melee, so intended to be kind of power neutral for melee champions, but a nerf for range ones. So Faker's still very strong with that in his pocket.
Yep, definitely extremely scary. Not to mention he's on a Yasuo as well, can then build himself up extra shields and things like that. Can certainly be a lot more durable than you would otherwise expect, as Beryl is once again, this time cantering, possibly even at a gallop, as we just saw. But T1 now just going to get to work on this top lane outer turret, as Mega Inferno Bomb just going to try and ruin their day. It looks like these minions are not going to last quite long enough, as the Bowling Ball going to be avoided by Perfect, as he clears up the rest of those minions that were there. 22 the CS lead here for Perfect. Still, I don't think that has really changed throughout this game. Black Cleaver now done. Sundered Sky completed here for Zeus on the other side of the Rift. And I think that the Aatrox's probably going to be just fine with how things are going, especially with that one kill.
We could kind of see this yesterday from the Ziggs, though, when Henna played it, that it's such a fantastic pick for stalling games out.
Ooh.
And T1, you know, sometimes you have compositions where it's like, can the AD carry really walk up and hit the tower? They don't have an AD carry.
Right.
You know, at all, period. So,
there
sieging
is a range advantage. Is that what we call it in the biz?
Yeah, quite a significant range advantage. So really, without Baron, T1's going to struggle to crack through some of these towers, which you can see as evidenced by the fact that they've taken 0 towers.
Yeah.
Obviously, do have some side lane threats that they can lean on, but yeah, I think getting Baron, setting a pace to this game is going to be really important for T1. Getting Soul, not giving over Dragons to KT and getting Baron is going to be big. I know the Sen obviously works well with the composition, but there will come a point where not just the Smolder, but Smolder Ziggs later on could be such a major issue. Short-range champions in a Ziggs, you put the minefield down, you have to run through it. It's so painful.
And we were watching this yesterday and just wincing whenever anyone walked on even one of those mines. Yeah, it's going to get really rough. And of course, Def isn't quite there yet. He only has his Ludens, and going to need quite a few items before that is really a thing. Hasn't been able to get around the map and take plates as well, as we saw. As you can see, all of these turrets looking pretty healthy on T1's side as well. We do get the Rift Herald charging in. T1 here for the defense. Not going to be a turret taken, just going to be a bit of damage here for KT. And I think slow and steady is what wins the race here. It's not really a roller coaster thing. In general, doesn't fit the KT playstyle, but I think if they slow it down, it's going to look better and better as this game goes on.
A bit of the style of roller coaster, you know, when you're on the trains and you're just slowly going up.
I think they need to avoid the bit where it starts doing the loop-de-loops and the rushing down and the whee and stuff like that. We need to not do that bit. It just needs to keep going up on the little rails, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Guma does have the Helia, but compared to last game, remember, when he had the Neela, he was super ahead in levels compared to what Senna's typically are. He's only level 7. Doesn't even have that Q maxed yet. Do you see KT pushing the wave in mid, threatening the tower? Obviously with the Ziggs, that threat is huge, and trying to move towards the dragon, but T1 are looking for an angle of approach here.
Yeah, Keria going to take a little bit of poke damage here from BDD as the knockup does connect onto Beryl. Beryl not too worried about it, as we can see. Minefield down just to try and keep them at bay. T1 with a fair bit of control of this dragon right now. BDD is going to get another shove out, and Oner is just doing his wolves for the minute. Not a whole lot of commitment just yet, as the bouncing bomb doesn't connect onto Zeus. Perfect, not going to snare everyone up, and that is only one bowling ball to connect. And now KT are going to move their way into the river, look to grab themselves some scuttle control, which will be secured here by Pyoshik. As we can see, bowling ball just slightly avoided. I think that might have been the snout of Bristle that did sort of smell that ball as it was flowing by, as this dragon has now been started. And KT, will they actually commit to any sort of play? Keria going to get spotted out as the tower is going to be taken, and KT just giving this one up, saying instead, we're just going to try and take your stuff. And with a Ziggs, it kind of makes some sense. Satchel can go down, doesn't even need it, and KT get 2 turrets in trade for a single Ocean Drake.
And they might even
wait, two turrets, I said. I said 2 turrets. By Jove. Never mind, that's 3. That is going to be Faker now trying to trade it back for an outer turret towards the bottom side of the map, but I don't know whether that one's going to be worth it as KT slink into the enemy jungle. I think that was a pretty good trade.
It was a phenomenal read by KT. They knew they had the pushing power, they knew they had the prior mid, and they're like, look, we can walk into the trap T1 has set for us.
Oh my goodness, perfect.
But the main thing is, it's an Ocean Soul, right? And even though the sustain is going to be useful, they already have a ton of sustain. It's not Hextech Soul, completely different ballpark. And so as a result, KT are like, you know, so what if we give them an extra dragon? They don't have the Soul yet. And the end result is they get so much structural impact. And you look at the fact that every tower mid lane is down on T1 side, and there's not a single tower down on KT side. You're getting to the point where the Smolder wave clear is insane. You have a Ziggs as well. I'm really struggling to see when T1 will ever take this mid-tier 1. And until they can break that mid-tier 1, finding these flank angles, forcing KT to overcommit is going to be really hard. The mid-tier 1 is a great safe haven.
Yeah.
And if Ziggs and Smolder can just sit under it and wave clear, T1's comp is going to really struggle to push the pace of this game. And if they don't push the pace of this game, they are not going to have a good time.
Yeah, because ever getting to these turrets is going to be impossible. And like you say, yeah, I'm looking at the map and I'm thinking, the range of Mega Inferno Bomb kind of covers inner turret, top, and bot if you're standing and defending the mid-outer turret. And so you just sort of chill and you keep your entire map alive and make a whole bunch of money, and then eventually T1 cannot actually do anything unless they fully commit to a fight immediately to stop just getting queued by BDD over and over again with no recourse.
And also, you know, the Senna is a squishy champion. We talk about the value of it, but if Beryl gets on top of Guma and there's ults to follow up, that Senna is not going to last very long. Now, we have seen KT kind of move up towards top side, but fortunately, Keria won't get any damage on this turret.
Yep, and like we said before, they do have to commit very heavily in order to do so. And maybe we're getting a little bit of a glimpse into why T1 were very happy to scuffle extraordinarily hard in the early game. Because if they were able to start that ball rolling extremely early, then this could have looked like a blowout once again. Like, you know, Harlem Globetrotters style, you know, Keria doing all of those sweet moves, landing more of those kicks like we saw in the first team fight. But if the game is ever stabilized, like we're seeing KT attempt to do now, yeah, the inroads are just not looking too good, as now Keria might be in trouble. Oh my goodness, and she does so much damage? What the heck? As, all right, Beryl is going to be pulled back there by the Infernal Chains. Mom goes down, doesn't do a massive amount. Yeah, and Keria will be able to heal himself back up again as Mega Inferno Bomb almost just straight up kills Gumayusi.
This is one of the problems with being a level 8 Senna in a game where, you know, BDD and Depth are level 13. They do a lot of damage. Yeah. And you don't have much health. And as a result, Guma just nearly gets completely destroyed. BDD already has the 225 stacks for the burn. You know, it's only 1,000 gold lead for KT, but it's starting to feel really scary. T1 are going to have to get creative. We do have Dragon in a minute 20, but KT can kind of do a similar thing where if they're not feeling it, the game is not over if they give over Ocean Soul. You know, I think if they gave over a stronger Soul, you might really feel bad about it, but I think they can survive. I will say someone on KT does need to pick up Grievous Wounds. Right now, Perfect has it, but ideally, BDD and Deft are so good at applying it. in AoE. There's obviously a ton of value there, but yeah, I really think KT might feel strong enough now that the Smolder's ramped up that they can make a fight happen, but even if they lose the Soul, I'm not sure they're that bothered.
No, I don't think so either. I think the only worry about the Soul is the fact that it does unlock Elder, and that is a way for T1 to win a team fight. You know, get a dragon that can execute stuff of their own. Of course, KT just have one of those, but
yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, T1 being able to collect one, I think, could accelerate this game as well. Because this is, like, I feel like KT win on almost any defensive scenario. Where T1 are actually trying to overforce under a turret or something like that to try and brute force and get control, that is when KT are going to be almost, like, they're nigh unbeatable in those moments. However, if T1 can sort of catch them unawares, like right now, as Pyosik is just able to Arctic Assault at exactly the right angle in order to get himself out of absolutely everything, like, this is the kind of neutral fight that T1 are going to be looking for, and we'll see whether they can actually line it up, because they still, like, if they're not hard committing, it's still going to be a loss in a lot of these scenarios. As you can see, Zeus looking for these flank angles, and Keria on the other side for the pincer is going to get caught out here by Perfect, who does dash his way out, a long way away from any sort of turret right now. You can see Keria also now moving away. Beryl looking for that flank as Zeus gets on top of his ward once again. The snare going to get picked up by Beryl here as Oner moves over. It's going to be a 50-50, but a taken by the Smolder somehow. Keria steps on 2 balloons and gets down to half health.
Yep, and KT's super happy with that. They denied the Soul, and they just bought more time. You know, the concern about the Elder, the flip that it could end up meaning a game lose even with a Smolder on your team, they don't have to worry about that for another 5 minutes. So good moves there from KT. Good secure. Oh, TP flank coming in. This is from Keria.
Yeah, this is very aggressive. And Gumayusi is just going to get dove on top of Dev. Takes him down with a Mega Inferno Bomb. And Keria now just not able to find those angles, because without the center, what is this comp actually capable of? As now it's Perfect teleporting in. Zeus going to get thrown around like a ragdoll. These executes starting to fly in as he looks to be a hero, but he's burnt to death by BDD. The kick, it's going to connect, and Keria takes down his ex-teammate, but at what cost? As Faker is at full health, he puts up the wind wall, but 1 versus 4, I just don't think it's going to be enough. The last breath comes down, but it is exactly that. He'll take Pyosik with him, but KT win the fight.
And it just felt like T1, you know, they keep bringing in more members, more sacrifices to the Blood God, and they just lose their whole team. This is one of the concerns with this low-level center, is how squishy you are. I mean, it doesn't even feel like they... I mean, yes, Barrel jumped on him and they ulted, but he lost so much health just from the WQ from BDD, and then the flank angles attempted. But first off, we get Zeus. Okay, Zeus is now in a 1v4 situation. Okay, Zeus dead. Who's up next? Okay, Keria's turn. Keria and Oner on a 2v5 situation. Okay, now Faker's like, cool. Me and Oner in a 2v4 situation. It's always stacked against T1 for the entire fight. And even though there's some little expressions of skill where they take out members of KT, it's just a numbers game. BDD just keeps pressing Q the whole fight long, and now he is monstrously fed.
Yeah, this is the problem, is the fact that BDD got basically all of those kills. And now he's a 5-0 for 3-item Smolder, and Deft has still done the most damage in the game, because of course, it's just Zig's things. It's what we saw yesterday. I mean, Henna had probably one of his worst days of the year, guys, but his Zig's game was amazing.
I've been saying it for like 2 years, man.
Yeah, I know.
Ziggs just does the boom boom damage.
And you'll say it to anyone who's willing to listen as well. I've been in those boss rides before. As okay, our last breath does connect onto Perfect. He takes a third of his health and slices away.
This is feeling really bad for T1 right now.
It's just not looking like the playability level is very high.
Yeah, it's a struggle, and you know they're trying to find angles where they can approach with and get those flanks in, but KT are doing a great job of not giving them any opportunity. They are moving over to control the Baron again, but this is the thing, is KT can be so patient because, you know, yes, they can start up the Baron here, but they're just stacking as the game goes on.
I mean, the thing that I'm worried about is that KT are going to feel like they're rushed when they're absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because they sometimes just do that. Because like you say, I mean, they have all of the time in the universe in this game. I mean, they're praying for a 70-minuter, as they're not going to get one, as that is going to be a kick out onto Beryl. Mum comes down. Oner is going to absorb a lot of buttons by just pressing Zhonya as he puts the Crocodile to sleep is now perfect. He could be in trouble, but it's another crash down. Deft takes down Oner, and BDD is untouched in this backline. Faker goes in, but the Dragon is mauling them. Deft satchels his way out. That's the Crocodile locking down a kill, and now it's BDD flapping forward. And he can feel the wind in his wings, and Zeus is just gonna go down. It's a triple kill for the little Dragon. He is legendary. And I don't even think he needs his mom anymore.
He's just untouchable. You know, it felt like the whole fight, BDD was the only person on KT who's never really threatened. He finally sees a window to go in, and he decimates T1. He is more than online at this point. He is taking over the game, and now they might end, actually. It's a Ziggs.
Yeah, Oner is up in 4 seconds time, but like you were saying, there are satchels aplenty here for this Ziggs, as Deft has already gone to work on that first turret. The Nexus is all but dead as it is exposed. The Mega Inferno Bomb just for good measure, and